Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 men.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies. Buchanan,
Nuño.
summer topic for you
Okay.
that did not come from me.
All right.
Are you familiar with Tom Tuberville?
Yeah.
He texted me the other day, and he's
We talking about the former A&M
sideline
SID
reporter.
and sideline reporter,
Yeah,
or
that's-
the senator,
not the senator.
former Auburn coach.
No, we're talking about the one from
Is he a
Aggie
senator or
land.
rep?
He's
Who
somebody.
was a former A&M defensive coordinator, by the way.
So our Tom texted me a question the other day. He goes, if you could only have one, would you rather have the Aggies have LSU's type of success, sports beyond football? Okay, so let's go from 2000 and beyond, okay?
Okay.
Or Alabama's success, mostly football. Which would you prefer? And I'm going to open it up to the audience. You people tell me, and I mean people with like a lot of love.
I got to tell you, LSU as a program, they've won a national championship, I think, in women's basketball. They've won a national championship.
Couple in baseball recently.
Baseball. They've won in football. They've been to the Final Four, not recently, but in men's basketball. They had a really good track and field program, especially when Pat Henry was their coach. So I think they're probably more well-rounded than Alabama.
But Alabama had the sixth national championship.
I got to be honest with you. And everybody knows I'm a football guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a football guy. So
I take LSU.
Okay.
I take LSU. Don't get me wrong. I would love 6 national championships. The amount of bragging and walking around with my nose up like that, it would be outrageous. And yes, I understand the irony here. We haven't done anything in a long time. Okay, I recognize that. Yes, I know 1939. But for me, mixing a couple baseball championships, mixing a Final Four run by basketball,
Alabama had that.
Mix in a national championship, 3 national championships in football. Like, has it been 3 since?
Well, they won in 03, 07, and 19.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
I would take LSU.
If you're going to give me the 3, but you know what?
Have I talked you out of it yet?
Not really.
Let's.
But at least you give me. You give me reasons.
I'm going to give you some.
But I remember one time when I was working as the high school reporter, the high school editor over in Austin, and I was talking to somebody from out of state, and they were saying, "Why is football so important to these towns in Texas?" And I said, "Well, it's not necessarily true, but there's this perception that if I can kick your ass in football, I can kick your ass in general."
I like that.
Yeah. I ended up liking it so much I used it in an article.
Did you really?
Yeah. I said, that's pretty good. I think I'm going to use that.
So let's talk about it from different perspectives.
Like if you're from Hawley and you go out and Hawley out in West Texas and say you beat Gunter in football, that means at least you have this perception that you're just superior to Gunter. You're more masculine than Gunter.
It's like the old Brian A&M consolidated rivalry.
The crosstown showdown.
Crosstown showdown, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's my thinking, and I'm going to make this about me for a moment, okay?
Okay.
Sitting in this chair, how glorious would it be that year-round I have good topics to discuss, okay? Like, we're going deep into the Final Four. Hey, baseball, another national champion. Like, it would just be, because last year, for our job, you had a coaching change, which is never, I'm talking about leading into Schloss, right?
Okay.
Leaving. You had a coaching change with Elko. You felt really good about things. You have Buzz bringing all his guys back. You have the baseball team going all the way to June, and an inning away from potentially winning a national championship. The whole slot. We had a lot of talking points.
Yes,
but there were some highs and lows in there.
Yes, there were.
I would love not as many lows, a lot of highs, and just all year long talk about we won in baseball. Yeah, because I think it's the big three. Football is the king.
Yeah.
And I'll take a women's tennis national championship,
Yes.
track and field, golf. I'll take them all.
Yeah, I'm going to celebrate them all.
When you get the big three, and you're mixing in those with it, it makes those better.
See, you're right. See, here's the deal. Did you ever see the movie Old School?
Of course.
So you win a championship in some of the, let's call them non-revenue sports.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're still partying. But football, you're streaking Disneyland with Will Ferrell.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. But 6 versus 3 is a big difference, obviously, right?
Yeah, like twice as much.
Yeah, twice as much. And I would love it. Both scenarios are fantastic. Okay? And you're right. Alabama's had a pretty good baseball program last few years. Basketball had their run and then
Still having it.
Still having it, right? A great coach in Nate Oates. Really solid place. But if we're talking about national championships, then that means I'm including a women's national championship in basketball.
Okay.
We're talking baseball.
If you're going to give me the 3 national championships in football and multiple national championships in baseball and a women's national championship and
a Final Four run.
And a Final Four run. And quite frankly, for all I know, they may have won some other national championships. I don't know. But here, do they have meat judging?
I think everybody judges meat.
How about equestrian?
That I don't know.
Do the meat judges judge the horses?
I don't think they're the same sport. Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe anyway, yes, you have a valid point, and you might be able to sway me. But I'm a football guy. I got to admit. Now,
which would bring you the most jubilation, the most excitement?
I'm streaking Disneyland if the football team wins.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Like, football is going to make me the happiest because of and I think part of it is because it's football. The other part is the heartache that football has caused me.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Because
let's take a poll. Can we do a YouTube poll or a Twitter poll?
Yeah. Which one do you want? Which?
I don't know. Wait, let's do it on YouTube. Let's do it on YouTube because,
who would you envy most?
I don't like talking about other programs.
Yeah,
that's the weird part.
Especially
that's
those
not
two.
To YouTube. Yeah, that's just in general. You got this resume, you got that resume. Which resume would you prefer?
Actually, I'd probably like, Florida.
They're good at everything all the time.
Didn't they win football and basketball in the same year?
So, yeah.
Yeah. And they win in baseball too.
They're very good at baseball, yeah.
Look, just, A&M, I just want A&M just reach your untapped potential because this is our time.
To borrow a line from.
Somebody important said that.
Yep, that's right. Here's another one for you to ponder.
Okay.
What game, if there is a game, because there's 12, I don't know if you guys knew that, there's 12 games, OB, minimum. What game does A&M have to have in 2025? And the reason I'm telling you that is there was a article I read about Brian Kelly needs the Clemson game for...
That's wrong.
Okay? And I don't think you need a game early on. You could certainly use it. And you can go very low-hanging fruit. You need the Texas game because it's the rivalry and they'll probably be a top 5 team. I get it. But if there's a game on A&M's schedule that you today, June the 25th, it's a Wednesday, by the way, 2025, you had to have, what game on the schedule would you say, I got to have it? For perception reasons. There's 3 candidates
It
in my
might be Florida.
Okay, Florida. Okay.
Because Florida's getting so much hype. And, you said from perception. And quite frankly, there's you lose on the road to LSU. Mm-hmm. Well, you've been doing that since '94. I don't want it to I want that to end. You lose it on the road to Notre Dame. You lose on the road to Texas. And I think nationally, nobody's opinion of you changes. Yep. But if you beat Florida, I think the outcome of Florida changes the perception of you nationally. And it's somewhat early, right?
Yep. I've got two answers for you. I'm going to give you.
Oh, I get to have two answers.
You can have as many as you want. It's a talk show.
Well, you said one game?
Yeah, one game, and then you can give a backup.
Okay, my backup.
Honorable mention.
My backup's Texas.
Okay. So I'm going to make it easy.
Okay.
I think you got to win a big game in November because we've seen this team win games before November. We saw them do it last year. All right, a big game in November.
Okay, I'll take Texas.
So Texas would be a great answer, but I don't want it to be like it was with LSU a couple years ago where you had a terrible season
that's true.
And you win the last game of the year, right? So, but there is Texas, right? South Carolina, does that do anything for you in November?
Of course it does.
Okay. But I don't think that changes perception. So I'm going to go.
I don't know. Mine depends on where South Carolina's ranked.
Sure. I think you got to win one of your away games late in the season. And I'm not talking Missouri. Okay? So you've got to win either October 25th in Baton Rouge, ending a drought of epic proportion.
Since 94.
Or at Texas. I think you have to win one of your away games late in the season.
Okay.
And I think that, like, if you go to Baton Rouge and win, okay, even, look, there's a lot of season left. And it's kind of going against what I said initially, which was I want us to win important games in November. But if you win that game, I think you're winning at Missouri. Okay?
As of today, I would feel very confident about winning Missouri.
But you've got to win one of your three major road games. Have to. There's more road games you got to win, but you got to win one of your three major road games.
What if you went 9-3 and lost 3 games on the road?
Which 3?
Your 3 major road games.
Then it feels better than last year, but I'm still like,
well, it is better than last year.
But we can't beat the big dog. I want to beat a big dog.
Is Florida going to be a big dog?
They might be. I'm not sold on.
No, look,
Florida
I don't want to lose
else.
any of them. You're asking me what's the to me. Yeah, I was saying Florida because it's halfway through the season, still somewhat early, and they're supposed to be really good. Now, if they're not, then it doesn't matter. But and I get what you're saying about November, but if you go into November like you said, and you win the last game against Texas, but it was like LSU a couple of years ago when you won to finish 5-7, that doesn't change any perspective.
Well, you beat your rival, and that feels fantastic. But the perception of the program is not. I think the perception of the program needs to be big wins. You need to have big wins at home, and there'll be a couple opportunities. You got to have a big win on the road. Have to.
Okay.
You've got to beat one of the big 3, and you can't stumble against Arkansas or Missouri.
That's true.
You can't, right? Just like we said last year, you look at that schedule. Chris, if you can put up that schedule again.
You want me to be a coach and say, what's the big game I want to win? UTSA. You know why? Because that's the next one.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be a talk show host, and I'm going to go deeper than that.
Yes,
and
I'm glad.
What game on that schedule do you think to yourself, I don't think A&M can win?
None.
So win them freaking all. I can make a compelling case today why A&M will go to South Bend and win. I know that they won't be picked. I can make an argument for why they will.
Okay.
I think you can too, right?
I would say it's unlikely that Notre Dame, as good as they are as good as they were last year, especially defensively.
Yep.
And it's unlikely that A&M's quarterback will play as poorly as A&M's quarterback played last year against Notre Dame.
Correct.
And therefore, I really believe A&M will be better than they were last year. I don't see how Notre Dame. I'm not saying that Notre Dame's not good. With that defense, I don't know how they can be as good as they were last year. And therefore, it was a 10-point game. It was tied wasn't it tied in the fourth quarter?
Yes, it was. It was tied with like 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left.
So I think A&M. By those circumstances, I think A&M. You can make that come to that conclusion. However, you are on the road this time.
Yep. So, but I can make an argument of why they will win, and I can believe it. Okay. I would say the next one that I would make an argument is going to upset some people. I think Texas is more winnable game in Austin than I think LSU is. in Baton Rouge.
Both teams have some big holes to fill in their offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Is A&M's defensive line, which has big holes to fill, going to be able to take advantage of that? Again, we'll see. Okay.
Who I think is a better team? I think Texas is a better team. Who do I have more questions about? Texas. I have a lot of questions about LSU, don't get me wrong. I feel more comfortable judging their quarterback situation than I do Texas.
Okay. If you putting on quarterback, I agree with that.
Arch may be significantly better than us, but I have questions until I see how teams adjust to him, right? But the fact that A&M hasn't won in Baton Rouge, as long as they haven't won, to me is a major stumbling block for me to predict them to win that game. So if I were to rank them, I would say Notre Dame's the most likely. By the way, Notre Dame, their chances of making the playoffs could come down to the first month of the season because they have an easy schedule the rest of the way. You got Miami week 1, you got A&M week 3. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think those are the hardest games on their schedule, unless USC ends up being good.
Yeah, we'll see about USC.
Right? So that is going to be a major game, but so early in the season.
So you're kind of discounting Navy?
I shouldn't.
Anchor's Way.
But for A&M's perspective, you can stumble early, can't stumble late.
I think you can say that for a lot of teams. For instance, LSU.
They can stumble to come.
Oh, he's got to win Clemson. No, he doesn't. If he loses to Clemson and runs the table from there, I mean, yeah, they've lost their season opener 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be pissed until they win a lot of games. If they go 10-2 with a loss to Clemson, do you think anybody in Baton Rouge is going to care?
If they're in the playoffs, no. By the way,
if you're 10-2 in the SEC and one of your losses was to Clemson, you're going to the playoffs.
You're going to the playoffs. Because Clemson's going to the playoffs more than likely.
Probably. I think they're the ACC champion.
This is TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. This is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Currently hanging out at the Holistic Planning
Cool Zone.
If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can call us up, 979-693-1150. You can call us on that hotline. That is the Buffy's Catering hotline. Or you can text us at that line, 979-693-1150. A couple of topics for you to text in about. If you could have one, would you rather have Aggies have A&M have LSU's type of success in sports beyond just football or Alabama's? And the other one, which is a game that A&M has to have from a perception standpoint. All answers will be, what's the word I'm looking for? We'll evaluate. We'll look into it.
Discuss.
We'll discuss.
Debated.
We'll break it down.
Evaluated.
Somebody brought up during our content meeting, we need to do a debate style show.
Point counterpoint.
Stephen A. Smith and whoever his band of bandits are.
Okay.
All right.
Jane, you ignorant. Remember? You remember that from Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, I
Jane,
sure
you
do.
ignorant.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Back to back. Ava Davis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have a lot of texts coming in, and we can read them later. But I want to give y'all, Sports Illustrated posted an article yesterday that ESPN has released their preseason college football rankings. So this is basically like a database that looks at like predictive analytics of teams and conferences and kind of tries to guess the trajectory of the season. So at number 1, they have ranked Texas. They have their chance to win the SEC is 34.1%, and the projection is 10.4 games. So Georgia's at 2, Alabama's at 3, and Texas A&M is at 4, with a chance to win the SEC with 4.3%. Their projection is 8.1 games, and then Tennessee at 5.
So, am I understanding this correctly? They are projecting A&M as the 4th best team in the SEC, but only 8.1 wins?
Yes.
That math doesn't math for me. Does it math for you?
Not really.
I believe last year, South Carolina was the 8th best team in the SEC.
8th?
8th, I believe.
Okay.
From a record standpoint, I believe if you...
weren't they in a 3-way tie with Alabama and Ole Miss?
But at 9-4. So, Ava, look it up. But I'm fairly sure
Texas and
South Carolina was in the middle of the pack. Yeah.
They all got into the playoff. Texas, Georgia, Tennessee.
Uh-huh.
And then I thought you had 3 teams. I may be wrong on this.
But South Carolina lost to Bama, so that would have lost them a spot.
Huh.
Fairly sure they were in the 8th spot of standings.
And maybe LSU was.
They were
in front of them.
9-4, weren't they? Yeah.
or were they 10-3?
I thought they were 9-4.
You're probably right. They lost to
I think they were 9-4.
A&M. They lost to USC. They lost to Florida and Alabama. So there's at least a 9
and 4, I believe. But I guess my point is, if A&M's the 4th best team in the SEC,
they're better than 8-4.
they're better than 8-4.
Yeah.
That math to me doesn't math.
Well,
I could believe 9-3. But I guess 8-4 is.
I think people are getting way too crazy on
analytics. What's your eyeball tell you?
Yeah.
One eyeball.
Yeah. Okay. But you know what? Good talking points. It's good. Yeah. I take almost everything I see from ESPN with a grain of salt.
Where does that term come from?
Grain of salt?
Yeah.
Grand Saline. That's where it comes from. Grand Saline.
Oh, from there?
That's where the salt mines in Texas are.
Grand
hence the name. Grand Saline, Big Salt.
Big Salt, yep.
It's an East Texas town. Grand Saline.
Did they use salt at 1775?
Oh, yeah. I think anytime you're going to make great Texas barbecue, you take that brisket and, you just salt and pepper it.
Yeah.
Because, you don't put a whole lot of other crazy stuff in it because the meat is the star.
Yeah.
You just got to cook it right, and nobody cooks it better than
I don't want to give their secrets away, so if they're salting it or whatever they're doing, whatever it is, it works. And it works better than everybody else.
I can't disagree. In fact, I like it so much that yesterday I had, said I would honor Alan Cannon by inviting him to lunch at 17. I would take him there to celebrate his retirement. Because if you're going to celebrate with barbecue.
Celebrate with
great barbecue.
Texas barbecue.
Turns out that he has to work.
He always works. That guy's just a worker.
I mean, he's retiring and having no wonder why. Turns out, Trev has something for him to do around lunchtime.
Okay. All right.
Hey, one guy, I'm picking up the check, but the other guy signs the check.
Yeah,
so you got to
go with that guy. Yeah. 1775 is open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. And you can call them up directly, 979-492-6241. It is 1775txbbq.com.
It's good.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. So I believe I was correct. South Carolina finished in what, Ava? Eighth in the SEC.
Yes.
Do you have the list in front of you so we can kind of go through it? Because I think they finished 9-4, which so it does seem pretty like that's kind of, I don't know. 9-4 seems weird to be that deep into SEC standings.
Yeah, that just seems.
There was a tiebreaker and they fell behind.
Okay, right. So I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And remember, A&M was what number?
1, 2,
what was
3,
A&M in
4.
9.
Ninth overall record, but I think in the SEC they had a higher record.
So basically, no, they're not 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 teams are tied at 5-3. So to say one of them's 8th and one of them, they're all 5-3.
Sure, but I guess my point was if A&M is the 4th best team in the SEC, I think they're winning more than 8 games.
I agree with that. In fact, the only team that was 5-3 in that 16 that didn't win 9 games
was A&M.
I'm tired of this crap.
But they could have won 10.
Could have,
but they didn't.
They didn't.
So they didn't. Anywho, let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava, we had some texts about some of the commentary we had.
Yes. David in Temple says Notre Dame for early momentum, belief of players and fan base makes hope.
Yeah. Look, you beat Notre Dame and you start off the season 4-0 or whatever that is, right? Yes. But because of the way last season finished, I'm about how you finish.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have a good start, it doesn't matter how you finish. I mean, it matters, but let's be honest. If you go 3-1 to start the season, and you lose to Notre Dame, but you roll in November and win 9-10 games, I think we're going to feel much better than the reverse.
Yeah, I hate Notre Dame. I hate it. And to some degree, I live with it because, I'm married into kind of Notre Dame, sister-in-law, right? But I would much rather beat LSU or Texas or Arkansas for that. I'd much rather win an SEC game than beat Notre Dame. But I want to beat Notre Dame. I hate them.
Well, what do you think Texas is thinking to themselves? Like the Ohio State game, that's a rematch of the semifinal. It's an important game, but it's more important for them to win SEC games in the grand scheme of things.
Of course it is. You get a lot of cachet, and you're going to be, ranked even higher, and all those things. But it's been proven. Well, even now you can lose late and still get in, but over time it's been proven, time and time again, that if you lose early losses are much more forgivable.
Right.
Remember, Ohio State back in 14 or something like that. Ohio State lost either the first or second game of the year to Virginia Tech, which wasn't even that good.
Right.
They won the national championship.
Yep. Let's go back. Let's try to get one more text in, Ava.
So Matt in Houston, he said LSU 100% for your first question about if being like LSU or Alabama. So LSU 100% for him. And he also says if Notre Dame beats Miami and A&M beats Notre Dame on the road at night, that will be a big win that will get noticed early on. It could set the trajectory for the season.
Hey, so if I take Alabama, does that mean that, and I get, the Alabama success, does that mean early is betting on baseball games gets kicked out?
No.
I don't get all of Alabama.
You don't get everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You don't get everything.
Okay.
Right. Let's hit a break. Come back. I want to ask you about your morning workout.
Okay.
Put you on the spot. And then we'll have some other topics. You know what I'm wearing right now?
Yeah, Duck Camp.
Okay. Big Duck Camp guy?
I like Duck Camp. I don't look as good in it as you do, or my son.
That's very.
And when Duck Camp graciously gave me some samples of their product, my son, college kid, came and said, "Oh, this stuff is cool."
Yeah.
I mean, he goes everywhere with that Duck Camp hat. And it is a cool hat. And he kind of confiscated all my stuff. I couldn't say much because he looks better in it than I do.
I talked to Luke, who works there, and I was like, yeah, OB's stuff got stolen. So I'll see if I can hook you up at some point. But I love it because you can wear, like, I'm wearing long sleeves. You can wear it during the summer because it's light. The lightweight Performance City, breathable, quick dry, made to battle, 100-degree kickoff heat. Scout shorts. I would love to see you at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone in some Scout shorts.
Oh, I have some shorts.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Essential hoodie.
Wait, I'm not allowed to wear shorts in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
See what had happened. They got the lightweight fishing shirt. Whether you're gearing up for a hunt, a fishing trip, or just trying to survive September in College Station, Duck Camp has you covered. Check it out at duckcamp.com. Built for the outdoors, designed for everything else. It's Duck Camp. Hey everyone, let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. Don't forget to register for the 2025 TexAgs preseason kickoff, available to all premium and varsity subscribers. The registrations link is in Billy's premium forum. The event is July 26th at the MSC. We're going to hear from a bunch of the head coaches across A&M athletics, as well as have athletes in attendance. If you'd like to sponsor or get a table at the event, donate an auction item, please email sponsors@texags.com. Come kick off the 2025 season with us. This is TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. How was your morning?
It was fine. It was a good morning. I woke up too early.
3 a.m.?
3, somewhere between 3 and 3:30, and thought, well, I'm going to go back to sleep, and I didn't. And I'm like, why can't I fall back to sleep? Now, I did fall asleep around 10:30, so I got 6 hours.
When did you have your last monster?
When did I have my last monster? Yeah. About 5 o'clock this morning.
No, yesterday. I'm sorry.
I didn't have one yesterday.
Okay. So you didn't have a lot of caffeine?
No.
I'm trying to figure out you're sleeping up or late or waking up in the middle of your sleep.
Well, the older you get, the more you wake up. Guys know what I'm talking about. And I have a dog that comes and wants to get let out and so things like that. So I got out to, let's just say me and my dog both had the same activity.
Okay.
And so then I thought, well, I'll go back to sleep, but I didn't. And so about 5 o'clock, so I might as well get up and go work out.
Okay.
So I drank a Monster to help me
get energized.
Yeah. And then I went to work out. And I know where you're going with. So look, here's the deal. So I'm at a station. I'm doing the pull downs or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
You know,
lat pull down.
Lat pulls. So right next to me, there's a woman who's working on a different exercise, but she has a personal trainer.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Go get
Except
it,
I'm thinking, and I don't mean to be mean here, but I'm thinking, you know what? I mean, we can all agree that I look like pretty much a disgusting collection of fat, right?
I don't think that's what I would say.
Okay, but a pile of garbage. And yet, I'm thinking, I look like I'm in better shape
than the trainer?
Shouldn't you, if you're making a living as a personal trainer, shouldn't you at least look like you train?
Let me ask you this though, B. What if somebody is so fit that it doesn't feel attainable? You want to just be a little bit more like the next step is I want to look like Olin as opposed to I want to look like Lou Ferrigno. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead and say what you wanted to say.
What?
As opposed to I want to look like David.
I would have never.
Nuño Ferrigno.
I would have never put myself in this situation. You know what?
First of all, I've never heard.
I got a long way to go, bud.
I've never heard anyone say they want to look like Olin. Right? It's never happened. But no, I think you know what? There was a guy that when I worked out at the other place where you work out, there was a guy named Cody.
Okay.
Just jacked. And I asked him one time. I said, what would you, if there was just one exercise for triceps, what would you recommend? And he, a lot of those guys that work out a lot are really approachable, nice guys.
Yep.
Oh, well, here's what I would do.
And they like to go up to people and help them with their form.
No, I think it's only if they're asked.
With 2 S's?
Asked.
Okay.
So anyway, I don't know. I don't mean to be mean. It was just a thought that I had that it's interesting. Look, personally, if I was going to have a personal trainer, I would want somebody that looks like that they've done a lot of training.
So do you want them to look like they're jacked, or do you want them just to look like a better version of what you want to be?
Either.
Okay.
Either. Do you
want your chef to be fat?
Chef doesn't bother me. Now, if I'm specifically wanting him to or her to cook meals for me that are designed to help me lose weight or get in shape or whatever, then I might say, you know what?
I want you to be fit.
Maybe not even fit, but I don't want you to look like, say, Mark Mangino.
Okay. You don't want to go to an Italian restaurant and have a marathon-looking chef, though, right? You want them to have a little meat on them.
I don't have an opinion
on
food. If I'm going out to a Italian restaurant, I want someone that looks Italian. I want Lucci back there in the.
Okay.
I want him to have a little gray goat.
Okay.
trying to work the Yellowstone look in the back. I just want someone that looks if I go to an Italian restaurant, I want someone who looks Italian. If I go to a Chinese restaurant,
let's stop.
I don't want someone that's not Chinese at the Chinese restaurant.
There we go. When you go to a Mexican restaurant,
I would prefer someone that.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
So if I go to work out,
you will go watch TexAgs. You want people who follow A&M sports.
There you go.
There you go. Let's move on. I'm a big Dan Campbell guy. I think you are.
Looks good. Looks like he trains. He could train me.
So Todd Haley was on a show recently and was asked about some stories about Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let the audio do the work on this one. Take a listen to this.
Pretty easy. We were struggling. I think we had a big game against the Giants, obviously a big rival. It was in New York on national television. It was going to be a night game. I think it's the game Tony Romo actually might have got into the lineup after Drew Bledsoe. But practice on a Wednesday was going bad. And you could see Coach Parcells getting heated up. He was not happy with the way anything was going. There was no energy, and I see him call Dan over to his side and say a couple words to him, and Dan runs back into the huddle, and Parcells, with his arms crossed like he always did, walked over to me and he said, "Watch this, Todd." A fight ensued on the next play, and Dan Campbell was in the middle of it. So, as coaches, you got to do whatever you have to do to get things going in the right direction. And he knew that Dan was his man to get in there and stir it up and get that. And it worked. All of a sudden practice, everybody's hooping and hollering, excited, and good things happened from there.
I love that. He was his enforcer. Do you remember who the fight was against, or was it just everybody?
Just there, mix it up, get something going.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. The enforcer role there.
So I was going to say I love that, but he said it for me.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can get away with that in today's.
I think you can.
You think you can?
Yeah. You still need, with all the things that are going on, you still need leadership. And that's what that is, And what he probably did, obviously I wasn't there, and I may be completely wrong, but he probably took it upon himself to call somebody out and maybe even say, you lazy SOB, and pushed them, and then nobody's going to take that. And it was all to get everybody's attention. I think that now maybe if we talked to Elko, he would be completely, Buchanan doesn't know what he's talking about. But I still think you need to have leadership.
I agree with that.
And intensity and emotion.
I think some internal beef like that can be healthy. Can be. It could also break a team too.
Yeah.
What if Billy did that with us?
He
would be like, "I don't like the way the content's coming out today. Go push Zane."
Isn't that on like a daily basis?
No, I don't think it's physical violence. It's more when we make fun of people. But he goes, "Opie, just push Zane.
Just push Zane.
Luke, just knock him on his rear."
Oh, I wish he would. Not really. I don't want to hit anybody. Yeah. Well, it's obviously, I don't know. You know this. It's a different situation, but again, football team. It's high testosterone. Guys. Manly men, and they don't want to get called out. But sometimes you do if your brother-in-law in it, or dogging it. And big game. Yeah, you need to get whatever it takes to get that emotional fire lit. Yeah. And apparently, Dan Campbell was a blowtorch.
He was a blowtorch.
And you know what? I'm sure he still is. And that's why one of the worst franchises ever, or at least since the 50s,
yep,
has done almost a complete 180 under Dan Campbell.
This is the best era of Lions football
since the 40s, 48.
I was going to say, even significantly better than the Barry Sanders days. And they were pretty good.
Yeah, they got to the NFC Championship game one time with Barry Sanders, but they weren't consistently.
And he was the team.
Yeah. Did he and Megatron ever play together? I guess they didn't.
I don't think they did, no.
Man, Matt. So it really is amazing what they, how they changed pretty quickly under him. Now they just got to finish the job.
All right, we'll hit a break here. And we'll come back with some questions on the YouTube page. And OB has been nice enough to stick around for the first part of the 9 o'clock hour. Let's talk about Heritage Films. Agricultural families understand something that city folks often miss. Life moves in seasons, and each one matters. And the beauty of what Heritage Films does is they tell these stories. And yes, they can tell your dad's story, your grandfather's story, your mother's story. They're excellent at telling people's documentaries. They're great at that. But they also do this Farm and Ranch Films, which is their newest offering. They bottle the moments before they're gone. Imagine your grandchildren not seeing the operation, what it looked like, and not understanding the soil that you guys live on, or the soil that they go visit on the weekends, right? And knowing the story behind it. Chance and his team, they don't just film interviews, they create these cinematic legacies with Netflix quality production. From daily routines to once-in-a-lifetime moments, they capture what makes your agricultural story so unique. Don't wait until it's too late. Visit yourheritagefilm.com. Yourheritagefilm.com. Click on Farm and Ranch Films, or call them up, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically, we start off the show in this section, and we call it the Holistic Planning
The cool zone, yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it. They'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. But they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are, like, say, a sports fan, and you've always wanted to...
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News. And Social Center, Ava Davis.
Calvin on the Super Chat said, Nuño, our AD saying it's our time is one thing. I'd rather have our teams win something first. We haven't won a conference championship in 27 years. Kind of hard to say it's our time. We haven't reached the Elite Eight in basketball ever. We came awfully close in baseball before falling on our face, not even making it to the tournament this year. I prefer doing our talking on the field.
Okay, then we should never have a press conference.
What?
Look, I have no problem with our athletic director believing in what they've created across the street and believing that it's our time to get it done. We feel that everything is in place to do it. We can look back at it 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and be like, he was exactly right or he was wrong. But I have no problem with a guy who's been on the job for 50.
No, I was just thinking about something that somebody once said that kind of speaks to that. R.C. Slocum, guys would, back when, the sports information coaches didn't try to monitor everything that players say, and guys had a tendency to make statements. And I remember R.C.'s line was, hey, don't write checks with your mouth that your, other parts of the anatomy can't cash. And they usually cashed them back then. Yeah. So our time. Okay, you wrote a check. Now let's cash it.
Well, and we're going to get into a bite. I probably don't have time to do it here, but at the top of the 9 o'clock, I'm going to bring up a talking point from the SEC that I think you'll laugh at. But I have no problem with, because I don't think there's anything extremely cocky about it's our time. He's not saying we're going to win a national championship this year. He's not like, it's our time. We've got all the ingredients to make something special happen.
Yeah.
That's how.
What if you just drop the word hour and say, it's time? Everybody would say, you damn right it is.
Okay. I can agree with that.
Yeah. It's time. We've waited long enough. It's time to start winning in everything consistently.
But I think people get
at a higher level
caught up in words. There's nothing demeaning, mean, cocky about it's our time.
Well, you got to take the context he was talking about.
Sure. Hey, we've got all these ingredients to take a huge step.
What's going on in college football and college sports, all the minutia.
And maybe we should stop worrying about what other fan bases say about us based on, who cares? They're going to talk crap no matter what. People talk bad about Alabama when they were winning. People hate people.
Yes. That's
a bunch of haters. Haterade. What's another one?
I just know that, okay, I'm sorry I keep going back to this. My son, the LSU kid, and he was talking about how he went to a game at Alabama and they talked crap back and forth the whole game, or before the game, to Alabama fans back and forth. Went to A&M and they were trying to talk crap, and the Aggies would say stuff like, well, you guys got a hell of a team, so we'll see. He said they wouldn't talk crap with us. Everybody talks that way. No, if you, to your point, if you win, people are still going to talk on you.
Everybody
cares?
Just hates. Look, we hate on people too. I hope Texas loses every single game ever.
Everyone.
It doesn't mean I can't be friends with a Texas person. I married one, even though she's more of an Aggie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
She roots for us.
Huh?
She roots for us.
Yeah. Well, some people don't get into the whole sports thing, which I don't understand, but they don't. Yeah. Everybody should.
She's all in. My kids are all Aggies. All right.
Whoop.
Yeah. But anyway.
I wish mine was.
I got no problem with anything that Trev said.
No, I don't either.
And
you got to take context.
Yeah. Look, they got to get it done. But I don't think it's one of these sound bites.
He even said, you know what? Oh, I don't know. You've heard this before.
Yeah. Well, Jimbo had a couple sound bites that came back and bit him. But it happened. You're going to say, I'm wrong all the time. OB, you're wrong 3/4 of the time. So, more OB on the other side is TexAgs Live.
I was y'all's age.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. OB sticking around for a segment. So we're talking about, how did RC phrase it? Don't write
checks with your mouth that that you can't cash.
Okay. Tell me what you think about this one. Are you familiar with Thomas Castellanos?
Yeah.
Thomas Castellanos, who's Florida State's quarterback. He goes, I'm excited, man. People, I don't know, but you go back and watch every first game that I played in. We always start fast. I dream of moments like this. I dream of playing against Alabama. They don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me.
Okay.
I tore up the ACC by my damn self last 2 years, and now I'm on this squad. I hope.
He actually said that?
Yeah. I hope they don't think that Florida State's going to be the same team it was last year, because we have weapons, man. People can't just sit back in zone coverage. Watch me.
Man, he didn't just write a check. Man, he wrote the whole checkbook.
He threw a rock or a stone.
So I like it. I want my guys to be confident and cocky, and
I don't.
Okay. I don't want them to be meek. I want to be bold.
I want my football. They went 2-10 last year. I know he wasn't their quarterback.
Right, and that's his point.
Okay.
That's not who we are anymore.
Well, he played at Boston College last year.
Yeah,
and wasn't very good. Okay.
I thought Boston College was okay.
He wasn't very good.
Very good.
I'm trying to find the numbers. I have them here. Last season, so 2 years ago.
They had some good running backs at Boston College last year, I think.
2 years ago, he rushed for over 1,000 yards. Last year, he rushed for 194. He went 0-2 against ranked teams. And by the way, Florida State hasn't beaten Alabama since 1965.
I'm picking Alabama all day long.
I don't know if you want to say it the way he said it. Like if we're in this, like, if I'm an SID, I'm like,
yeah, I get it.
Right? Like if I'm a coach, I'm like, what are you doing? Why you got to get them all riled up? Like, yeah, I know that Nick Saban's not there. You could say that after the game.
Okay.
We don't need to say it right now. Like, because I think Alabama's going to be good this year. Like, I have to see what Ty Simpson turns out to be, and he's right that Nick Saban. I don't know if I want the team I'm playing saying stuff. Like, would you want anybody on A&M telling Notre Dame something similar? I don't know if I want to see that.
I would if they're able to back it up. I wouldn't care. What's the old Dizzy Dean line? It ain't bragging if you can back it up. I just want you to back it up.
But when you're 2-10,
I didn't like it when Jerrod Hawker said something like along those lines about playing Clemson up there.
Okay.
All right. And I remember Jimbo said, "Well, then Hawker better play good." And maybe he did, but they went over there and lost. But I guess I really don't have.
You don't have a problem with it.
You know what? He like I said, he wrote the whole checkbook, right? Yes. Did he go over too far? I like guys. I do. I like it, but he went overboard. I
don't hate it.
I like guys like Jalen Preston, who said we want to piss in their Cheerios.
Right. Wanting and saying we are going to are two different things.
Maybe he said, yeah, I think, okay. Yeah, I'll give you that this guy at least have more credentials to your name.
More credentials to your name,
but,
and don't be a team that just won 2 games.
Somebody would have said the same thing to Joe Namath before the Super Bowl III.
Yeah, they were in the Super Bowl, though.
Okay, but everybody was looking down.
If somebody from Georgia said it to Texas or vice versa, I almost feel like, God, I don't know if I would say it, but I get it. But they were so bad last year, like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like
they were heinously bad. In fact, so bad that if they don't have a big bounce back year this year, I wonder if Norvell won't be in trouble.
He's got you don't. I don't know how you survive 2-10. I don't. Here's another one. Lenore Sellers.
Okay.
Had the opposite when talking about Alabama.
All right.
He says, Alabama's still Alabama to me.
There you go.
Now, that's what I want.
Here's the difference.
Respect.
Well, one guy plays in the SEC and plays them, and one guy doesn't really know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He hadn't experienced it yet.
I'm going to read you something that I don't even want to get into this topic, so I probably shouldn't read it, but I want to make a point about it, okay? Where is it? Nature asked me if I thought if A&M went 8-4 this year, if Coach Elko would enter the next season on the hot seat.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about hot seat because that's like, I don't want to be pessimistic before season, and I believe totally in Coach Elko. But no, I don't believe he would be on the hot seat. I think of course, there's always chatter when your team doesn't reach the level that your fans expect, no matter what. I think he could go 7-5, and I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought this up on the show yesterday. Billy Napier, who I don't believe in Florida. I personally don't. I think they're going to be good, but not this good that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, maybe a little overhyped.
Right? But if Napier is able to have an 8-4, 9-3 type season, okay, which I think would be a very good 9-3 would be excellent for them, correct?
I would say so,
especially with that schedule. I think it just shows that sometimes patience is okay, because he was basically fired in the court of public opinion after the A&M game.
Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm.
We were told it could happen on that Monday.
Right.
He survived it. They ended up having a really nice year.
They finished strong.
Right? Finished strong. They had the right quarterback in place, right timing. They made plays. I would have loved to see what Lagway could have done against Texas in that game. When was that? Early November?
Yeah.
Late October? Whatever it was. But I think sometimes...
They would have beaten Georgia had Lagway not gotten hurt.
Yeah. I think so too. They were either winning or it was like a field goal game. I think they were winning at the time.
I think so.
All right. But patience sometimes is a good thing. Now, don't get me wrong. You go 5-7, I'm all in on any coach being on the hot seat or getting fired. Okay?
Okay.
We don't sign up for that at any school in the SEC, right? But I think coaches, we have to, especially in today's world where things are changing so much in college athletics, a little bit of patience goes a long way. That's not to say that I won't enter a season, if they go 8-4, 7-5, that I won't be extremely frustrated because I was disgusted the way last season ended. That doesn't change the way I feel about the trajectory of what I think Coach Elko is going to do with the program.
Yeah, I want to see how it all looks. I don't think Elko gets in the hot seat with an 8-4 season this year. However, if you get 3 consecutive 8-4 teams, then you might start getting it because, like you said, no one is paying to be 8-4.
Yeah.
Now everybody's getting paid now, so it's not. But I don't care how much money Brian Kelly's getting or how much money DeBoer's getting, whatever. I know how much money my guy's getting, and I expect a return on that, right?
Yep. And how many years does a great season buy you? So let's say A&M goes 10-2, or Norvell a couple years ago they went, what was it, 12-1?
The SEC usually buys you one season.
Yeah.
Because I can give you about 3 or 4 coaches that won national championships and were out the door 2 years later.
Yeah. Or Jimbo went 5-7, and the next year was let go on a team that ended up winning 7 games. Right? So, like, yeah, I think one bad season, and you better figure it out early in that next season.
Yeah.
But if you win 10 games this year, buys you a couple years.
Yeah, look, a 10-win season this year. Yeah. Plus, I think everybody believes in Elko.
Bro, sorry to bro you.
That's all right.
If they go 10-2 with the recruiting class that they're putting together, then I'll go back to that Trev comment. Our time is now, and I'll believe it.
Okay.
You go 10-2 with this schedule this year with all those road games. I'm like excited right now. You are too. We got to get a little separation.
It's going to take more than that to street Disneyland, but yeah.
But you go 10-2, get invited to the playoffs. Maybe you win game in the playoffs. Then I do believe our time is now.
Well, I think getting into the playoff is going to be considered a successful season no matter what. Now, maybe for A&M. Now, maybe that's not considered a successful season just getting in at Ohio State or Georgia or Alabama didn't get in. But, there's some programs that's not. And considering where you're, like, it won't be considered a successful season at Penn State because they may be the top-ranked team coming in. I don't. Texas may be.
Right.
So if you're number 1 coming in, just getting in probably isn't good enough. But I think for A&M, if you get into the playoff, it's obviously a successful season.
And if you're 9-3, I think it's just a successful season too.
Yeah, I mean, it's acceptable because you made progress.
So if 9-3 is acceptable, what's 8-4?
spinning your wheels.
So it's not acceptable?
Well, I mean, it's
barely acceptable?
It's almost like a tie.
What's 7 and 5?
It's almost like a tie. You know what they used to say about the tie? Not Guy Morris's version of a tie, but, it's like kissing your sister, nice, nothing to get excited about. You ever heard that?
I've heard it, yeah.
That cliche?
I just thought about it for a second. 6 and 6, now I think those whispers are legit, right?
6 and 6 would be a gross disappointment.
No, but I'm saying, then you enter your year 3 with, you better show me something.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to see something.
Yeah.
Because, again, this is, you're not in this, you're not Vanderbilt. You're not in this just to get into a bowl. You're in this, and Elko knows that, and Elko is too. I mean, he's expecting more. So, you can't get by on 7 wins for long. Even at Kentucky, I think they had a coach before Stoops, Joker Phillips, and they had, at Kentucky, they've won 7. They've got like 7 and 6 a couple times. They got fired. So 7 wins get you fired.
If our time is now, is in a football sense, okay?
Okay.
So I'm not talking about baseball, basketball.
Right.
I'm just talking football. If our time is now, we're just going to geo-target football. Does that mean a bad season is 9 and 3?
No.
What is a bad season?
7 or less, probably.
Well, I'm just saying, I know that 9 and 3 this year is not a bad season. I'm saying I would love to get to a point where Alabama thinks 9 and 3 is I don't know about this guy, this coach. I'd love to be at that level where 9 and 3 is not good enough.
Yes, I would too. I think 8 wins is like going to the 31 flavors of ice cream place and ordering vanilla.
What's the point?
I mean, it's good.
It's fine,
but it's vanilla. I want some of that with all the.
You look like a Rocky Road kind of guy.
We've had enough Rocky Roads around here to last. I don't know. I want something with some fudge on it, and I want it just freaked out, banana split with everything. I want to just.
You want it all.
I want it all.
Yeah.
All the things that you would never eat.
I had ice cream yesterday.
Really?
Actually, no. I had a piece of cheesecake yesterday. Yeah, I did.
Really?
It was left over from the twins' birthday.
Who knew?
Yeah. I had a slice. Yeah.
Now that you mention it, I guess I can. See it getting a little bit pudgy.
11.7 body fat, buddy. Just kidding. Anyway, to sum up where we are, I do believe that this team, when we look at the entire trajectory and we talk about a must game, you gotta have them all, buddy, right? And a early win can certainly matter later, but considering the way last season went, late wins with an S or Z, however you prefer, matter more.
I want it to be called Yes-Vember, not November. What did I say earlier? A&M puts the no in November.
That's right.
We got to stop that. Start strong, finish strong. Yeah, can there be some losses along the way? Of course, it's the SEC. It's the SEC. It's not intramurals, brother. I'm making fun of Dan Hawkins there.
Former Colorado.
Remember when
Northwestern too?
I don't remember him in Northwestern. I remember in Colorado when he says, "It's the Big 12. If you don't like it, play intramurals, brother." It's the SEC. There's going to be some losses along the way, but
let me ask you this, okay? Just for dialogue's sake, okay?
Okay.
Let's say the top team in the SEC is 10-2. Okay, you have a bunch of 9 and 3s. Does that change 8 and 4 to you? Not for A&M in general. So if the SEC, if Georgia and Texas are 10-2, 9 and 3, and that's the top tier, does that change? Does the parity in the league change the way you look at the records?
To some degree, but 8 and 4 is still a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Is A&M one of the 9 and 3 teams, or are they 8 and 4?
You tell me both scenarios.
Because I'm still I don't care what the other teams do. It's supposed to be hard. You signed up to swim in the open water with sharks, not in the kiddie pool. So it's supposed to be hard. So I understand that going in. I'm not going to adjust my expectations. I'm not going to say, well, I hate that when A&M would, coaches would lose. Jimbo was bad about this. Someone was bad about it. And they'd lose the game and they'd say, Alabama's really good. No crud, Sherlock.
No diggity.
We know that. You're not being paid just to beat the average teams. You don't become elite because you win the games you're just supposed to win. You become elite by beating the good teams.
Right.
What do they say? To be the best, you got to beat who?
The best.
You got to beat the best.
And the second best, and the third best, and the fourth best.
So if I'm 8-4, it doesn't make me feel great about it because, there are other teams out there that are good. I want them to feel good about being 8-4 because A&M's so good.
Yeah. What about 9-3? Okay.
9-3 is acceptable because it's progress, but eventually you got to get to that point where 10-win seasons are commonplace and not rare.
Because we almost had this last year. Almost is not good enough. I know. 9-3. One of your losses is to Notre Dame. So that in the conference, you're 6-2. Okay. And you do represent the SEC in the SEC championship game. Now that would be progress.
Yeah. Well, I've always said, if you just win the Auburn game, everything
changes.
The perception is so different everywhere.
All right. Let's close out this with a couple text messages. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
One of the comments on the YouTube was from Sandman. He's the Texas fan who currently
and he's been going at it with somebody.
Yes,
There's some people get mad.
Okay.
They got to be more like us, like just relax, chill.
Yeah, just like you, man.
When's the last time you saw me get mad at somebody? Honestly, other than right this second when I said that to you. You haven't seen it in a while. I am relaxed Nuño.
Wasn't just a couple of weeks ago you were mad at somebody?
No.
They showed a knife at your kid.
I actually thought I handled that with grace. I just posted a picture and I said, God will watch over you, is watching over you. That was nice.
You weren't mad?
Okay, I was a little mad. But I wasn't going to do anything to a woman.
I know.
Okay. When was the last time you saw me mad?
I don't know.
Like where I was ready to you want to throw, bro? When was the last time?
It's probably been a while.
Have I
turned over a new leaf?
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm not mean to people on the chat anymore. I don't say Texas fans, come here, let's meet in person. I
actually like that part of you.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
Because they never show up.
Yeah.
And if they do, I'll hide. As you were saying.
He frequently views our shows and comments. He says, if one of those 8 wins is the Texas game and they win the bowl game, then I don't think that he'll be on the hot seat. Talking about Loco.
I don't even, not at you. I don't even want to talk about hot seat because it's not even a thing. Like I brought it up because it was asked of me. I don't think it's a thing. Like every coach in the SEC, if you have a bad year, is on the hot seat. That's the bottom line.
Pretty much.
Right?
Pretty much.
And every coach in the SEC that has a really good year talks of an extension come. Right? So that's just life. So look, we all know that they didn't he knows they didn't hire Mike Elko to go 8-4. Right? They didn't. I don't think they will. I don't know how I feel about this year. Like I've been a little bit more pessimistic about really nice records. I'm not changing yet.
Okay, I'm going to see where this is going.
I'm just saying I've been a little bit more pessimistic because I've been beat down. Okay, I admit it. I have allowed an unfair history to I'm allowing what has happened in the past to kind of get into the way I analyze these games. But I guarantee you, each week I will take it based on the information that I have. Okay? As of today, I might pick A&M to beat Notre Dame.
Okay.
I got to see what they look like in the first couple games. Right?
Yeah.
If Notre Dame goes and blows the doors off of Miami, I might have a different opinion. Right? To me, it's an evolving situation.
I agree. The hardest games to pick are the first ones.
The whole season's hard for me to pick because we're basing a lot of our knowledge is based on last season.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no guarantee that what was successful last year for A&M or any other team is going to be successful this year. There's no guarantee that Le'Veon is going to be the Le'Veon he was last year. I'm banking he will. I'm banking he might be better. Right?
I would not be surprised. I hope every guy on that team has the mentality and mindset, attitude of Le'Veon Moss.
I think Marcel's going to be better. I think Kevin Concepcion is going to be a huge, Casey Concepcion is going to be a huge upgrade at wide receiver. I believe these things.
I think he's going to be much more productive.
Right? I think the secondary is going to be better than it was last year. It can't be worse.
I agree with that.
Okay? I think linebackers are as good or better than they were last year.
I hope they're better.
Yeah.
They should be. The more experience you get, the better you get.
The defensive line, I believe in Elko, so I think it'll be better. I don't know about better, like as in like NFL first round, second round picks, but maybe the sum of the parts could eventually be better.
I'm not banking on this, but I would say there's the potential for A&M, the defensive line, to be better over the course of 12 games. I don't know that they'll ever be as good as that line was against Arkansas and Missouri.
Yeah.
But they may be more consistent.
By the way, Waffle House on the chat, which I believe is the one who posted a picture of me bald with a mustache yesterday on the social media. I believe he's the one who did it. I might be wrong. Did you see that picture?
I did.
That was a good-looking bald guy, dude. For reals.
Well, good, because it's coming.
But anyway, he says I killed Anchorman, and I haven't gotten over it. What does that mean? How did I kill Anchorman?
Anchorman? Like Ron Burgundy?
Yeah.
He's dead?
I am Ron Burgundy.
He's dead?
I don't think he's dead. What do you mean, Waffle House?
I don't get it. But anyway. I'm sure it's hilarious. It's just over my head.
Anchorman 1, excellent. Anchorman 2, bad.
I've never watched either one of them.
Okay, this is like that. Now I feel like how Billy feels.
I might have seen pieces of Anchorman, but I've never watched it all the way through.
Anchorman 1 is just a classic.
Okay.
When Telemundo gets involved,
I know he does say, I'm kind of a big deal.
You kind of remind me of him.
Really?
Yeah,
you actually kind of remind me of him.
The way I talk?
Because you're kind of a big deal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, OB, for sticking around.
You bet.
All right, Milliken Reserve, farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces, and their mission is to build a healthy community around nature. They're committed to treading lightly on the land that you can find Milliken Reserve on. They create a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community. When you go there, they want you to connect with nature, connect with your family, connect outdoors, and just be a part of an awesome place. They have an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape. They have walking paths, equestrian paths, creeks, ponds, and gathering areas. When you go there, you can go hiking. Great place to go hiking. You can go biking, canoeing, kayaking. You have the equestrian trails there. You've got the evening yoga, the summer camps, the music festivals, the farmer markets, and the farm tours. You can learn more at millikenreserve.com. That website, once again, is millikenreserve.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. I'm going to talk to Jerrod Johnson at 9:35. Looking forward to talking to him about his time with the Texans. We'll look back at some A&M stuff and also look ahead at A&M stuff. Nature on the YouTube chat, and I'm going to read this, Ava, and then we can get to some of your thoughts there. David might be correct in his optimism, but is it enough? Offense takes one step forward, but I'm afraid the D takes a step back. Not a good recipe for getting to 9 wins. So I don't know if you guys can help me we'll talk it out loud. I don't know if optimism is the right way of phrasing where I am. I don't know if kind of teetering between 8-4 and 7-5 in my head, from a step back, is optimism. I can make an argument for 10-2. I can make an argument for 9-3. I can make an argument for 8-4. I get it, right? But what I'll say to his comments are, which I lost it, offense takes one step forward. Well, hopefully it takes more than one step forward. And I'm going to give you a couple of reasons. You lost 2 games last year because the offense was inept, even though overall for the season, it was pretty good, right? It led the SEC in scoring. You lost your best offensive player when you were 7-1 at the start of the year. So just using that logic alone, a healthy Le'Veon Moss, a healthy offensive line, which you can't guarantee, I know, but no team can, and a healthy Reuben Owens, and a better wide receiver group, I think they take, and a quarterback entering his second season as your starter. I think that all those reasons, you should be more than one step better in offense. Should. Defense, he says, takes a step back. Not a good recipe for getting 9 wins. And I asked him give me a reason why the defense would be worse. So we'll start with the defensive line, which is the easiest one. Well, your defensive line last year, you lost all those dudes to the first and second round of the NFL draft. There's no way you can be better. Okay, I'll hear you on that. And my response to that is, you might be right. But I don't know if we got the production from the defensive line that we all should have gotten from those stars. So there's that. I'm also going to go back to Coach Elko putting his hands on the defense a little bit more, getting a little more dirty. I think there'll be more there. Secondary is going to be better. The linebacker. So I'm not willing to say the defense is going to be worse. In fact, there's nothing about that defense that makes me feel like they're going to be worse. I think they're going to be better. They picked up some guys in the secondary. The linebackers are going to be healthy, and you've got a new crop of defensive line that's got to prove it. And I recognize that. But I also think they didn't get to the quarterback enough last year. So at the very least, if you have similar production from a defensive line standpoint, but better on the back end, you should be better. Hard schedule on the road. I get it all. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ava Davis.
No, I totally agree with you, especially because, it was his first year, and he's acknowledged where he can do better with the quarterback and with the defensive line. So all I think we're going to see, unless unnecessary circumstances are going to come up that we don't have control over, like injuries and stuff like that. But for what he's going to do, he's going to try and do what he can and what he saw he could do to improve last season. And I think we're going to see that. I
know you had a couple texts or thoughts to read.
Yes, I have. So yesterday, the article from Inside Texas, it kind of started talking about the hype that Arch Manning was receiving and how it kind of was maybe a little overrated, especially because they hadn't seen enough proof of it on the field. Legendary Heisman winning quarterback and national championship winning head coach from Florida, Steve Spurrier, says they've got Arch Manning already winning the Heisman too. My question is he? Excuse me. My question is, if
he's so good,
if he was so good, how come they let Quinn Ewers play all the time last year?
I don't think that's a good argument. I have my questions about Arch. I do. I think a lot of us have questions about Arch. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. I don't think you just turn the page and you might be better. It may take a little bit of time, right? Maybe early in the season he struggles. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's Vince Young 2.0. I don't know. But I don't think it's fair to say that because Quinn Ewers was the unquestioned starter of a team that made the playoffs, and while he was a 7th round pick, I get that. I think that's what he was. You don't know his leadership in that huddle. You don't know his leadership on the team. And I don't think you just, because you have all this talent, unless it's like night and day, like, oh my God, because those conversations were happening, at least from fans, that they should potentially put in Arch. I remember that, right? And then we saw it for a little bit in the Georgia game. We saw it. So I don't think that's a fair comparison. You could be young and just not have the experience of what a team needs at that moment. You might be the better player. You just may not be at that moment ready for it. And that's all I think that happened there. I have questions about him as well, though. Like, how is he going to handle a rebuilt offensive line, which I think people just sometimes just gloss over. I glossed over it in 21 when A&M had a new offensive line. Sometimes you just gloss over it. And just like the defensive line that the gentleman who was talking nature on the YouTube page, I recognize all that. Those are some pretty big hurdles to overcome. But the difference of that offensive line and what they meant to the team and A&M's defensive line last year, I don't know if you got the same kind of production. Is my only point. But I don't think it's fair to use one. Quinn Ewers was their starter, and he should have been their starter last year. And unless it was night and day, and Quinn would have gotten hurt, and just Arch took the position. But I don't care. It's Texas. Just whatever they do. I hope it's a mistake. There you go. And for all the people listening from Texas, sorry guys, that's how I feel. When the unexpected happens, whether a car accident, property damage, or business liability, preparation matters, and that's why I use Rollo Insurance. The Rollo Insurance Group ensures that you're properly covered before crisis strikes. They have independent agents, and they're going to give you consultation on all of their insurance types. They can give you the confidence that the details are handled correctly. They've got 60 offices in the great state of Texas, and true value of insurance becomes clear during those critical moments. So whatever situation you may be in, you want to be prepared for it. You want your insurance company prepared for it, and you want to make sure you have the right insurance for you, and they'll help you understand what to expect, what's covered, and how to move forward. Don't wait until disaster strikes to discover gaps in your coverage. Visit RolloInsurance.com/TexAgs, RolloInsurance.com/TexAgs, or call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO. All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners, Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy weekend, I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals to make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them. 979-217-1561. Again, it's Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Bumpy's Catering Hotline. Our next guest is quarterback at A&M. Amazing numbers. We can go through that during the interview. He's also the quarterback coach of the Houston Texans. Good friend of TexAgs, Jerrod Johnson, joining us here on the program. What's up, Jerrod? We don't have you. I don't know if it's maybe mute's pressed on your end or maybe it's our side.
No, my mute's not on.
There we go. Got you back. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? How we doing?
Well, great. So how are things with the Texans? How are you feeling about things?
Good, man. Good. Everything's good. We're on our break right now. So we got out of the spring healthy. We got a lot of new pieces and just kind of gearing up to get ready to roll late July for training camp.
How's it been for you to coach a team that you grew up in the backyard? You played football right down the street. Like you've had an awesome part of your career, football related, where you've been close to home pretty much the whole time.
Yeah. Well, it's been it's been good. It's been a godsend to kind of get back into Houston. My kind of football journey has taken me all over the country to get back here. I lived in 15 cities in 6 years, chasing playing. Spent 3 years coaching with the with the Colts under Nick Sirianni, and then spent a year with Kevin O'Connell. Did an internship under Kyle Shanahan, and then for all of that to come back to coaching here with the Texans. Getting to have our baby in Houston has been a godsend. So as a kid from Humble, Texas, who went to A&M, getting to coach for the Texans is kind of a dream come true.
Talk to me about CJ. What makes him CJ? Like not only just a dynamic quarterback, but just a good kid who seems to have figured things out. Like obviously he's got a long way he wants to go in the NFL, but he's on that right path from a maturity standpoint and obviously a quarterback standpoint.
Yeah, he's a special kid. He works really hard. He loves football. He's a really good person. He has a great family in his life with his mom, and he's been through some things familiar that I think have made him a very mentally tough, just young man. He's been through some things, but he's a great relationship with his mom and his family. He has a great sense of who he is, but he works really hard. He sees the game, and he's an elite passer of the football. So all those things considered, man, it's made my job. It's a good job to have coaching him, and I've really enjoyed what we've been able to do the last couple of years.
How about the addition of Christian Kirk? They're obviously an Aggie legend and a guy who's still playing at a very, very high level.
Yeah, when we signed him, man, I sent him a text message and said, it's good to see him back in NRG. I think I was here when he returned those punts against, I believe Arizona State, maybe, those games. And so it was good to have him. He's so mature. He's a pro. He's a great kid. And, it's good to have another Aggie in the building.
What does A&M mean to you in just the university, the football program, everything that comes along with it?
Yeah, for me, it's family. It's such a pivotal part of my family story. My dad played at A&M from 1976 to 1980. I grew up going to A&M games, football, basketball, baseball, all the things. And I committed to A&M as a sophomore in basketball and football. So, A&M's all been a part of my family, And so for me, my time spent at A&M, had a lot of ups, had some downs. But I think the people that I met, the experiences that I had, just all the deep-rooted emotions, feelings, happy, sad, all the things, just a lot of my life have revolved around Texas A&M for as long as I can remember. So the place always has my heart. I love Texas A&M, everything it stands for, the people that I've crossed paths with, the people I continue to cross paths with as an alumni. Man, it means family to me and my family, and we're forever grateful and for Texas A&M, the things it's done in my family's life.
Fairly certain I saw you had a couple games last year. What do you think about the job that Coach Elko's done?
They're doing a heck of a job, man. I think that it's a new time in college sports. I think fans don't want to hear this, but it's hard to win games, And so I think he's doing it with class. I think he's put a lot of time into recruiting. Walking around the field, just seeing the talent that we have, just getting off the bus. Now that I'm in the NFL and we're evaluating guys, and I'm looking at tape all day, looking at every position, on the offensive side of the ball, just to see the people, the guys we have in maroon shirts, man. They're doing a heck of a job recruiting. I know Colin, I got to know him a little bit. He's doing a good job, calling plays. And so I like the direction it's going. We have really good product on the field, and I think there's some young pieces that they're going to keep developing, and I think we're in good hands.
Follow me here. I covered D'Amico for a while when I was in Houston doing TV, and I feel like D'Amico and Coach Elko kind of came in similar situations in different backdrops, right? Because there was a lot of stuff going on with the Texans that weren't happening with the Aggies, but they had to change a culture. D'Amico did it real quick. Talk about that, and Coach Elko's, it seems like he's done it with A&M as well, changing a culture and how important it is because it will benefit winning later.
Yeah, I think culture is huge. I think most teams take the culture identity of the head coach. D'Amico is very straightforward. He's very black and white. He's no nonsense, but he does it with a smile on his face and does it with the thought of like treating people with respect. And he always talks about being demanding, not demeaning. But at the same time, once we set the standard, what's understood is understood. Once the standard is set, either you met the standard or you didn't. And that's kind of the messaging we have here, And so I think there are some parallels to it. What Elko's done at A&M, but I think at the end of the day, you be yourself. If you have morals, you have values, you have standards, and you hold the people around you accountable to those things. And if we all have a standard that we know is what is acceptable, it's pretty easy to hold people accountable and create a culture where we all are trying to meet that standard every single day.
Talk to us about Marcel Reed. You evaluate quarterbacks in all positions all the time. What he was able to do last year when nobody kind of expected him to be the guy. He jumps into that role, has some high moments, some areas he wants to work on. What do you see from him that you like and what we can maybe expect in year 2 under the system?
Yeah, I think he's athletic. He's athletic. He has good arm talent. He's had some games where he's made plays. At the end of the day, the quarterback position is you're in the playmaking business. And so I think taking that next step as he goes into the year with all the reps in the spring, as he kind of knows what to expect. I think the biggest thing is knowing how to prep for the week, knowing what his week looks like, knowing what it feels like to get hit with his body, knowing what it feels like to go through a week of class, just like knowing what he's getting himself into should allow him to prepare all spring and summer to get ready for the season. But I think he's got tons of potential. And I think there's just this switch that goes, and I remember for me, from kind of reacting and just playing off of ability to now anticipating, and something I got from Frank Reich, we would talk about it, we call it accelerated vision. So now I can anticipate what's going to happen as opposed to always reacting to what's going to happen. And I think that's a big reason you see guys make the jump as the years go on. And so I think next year he'll be in a better position to kind of prepare for things and kind of be in a situation to anticipate what's going to happen in all avenues.
Talk to us a little bit about how the quarterback position has maybe evolved, especially from the college game to the pro game, to where you're seeing a lot more of these dual threat quarterbacks, and they're winning at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my 2 biggest things I look at with drafting guys and picking quarterbacks is accuracy and mobility. The number one thing you got to do in order to win at any level is be accurate as a passer. And every quarterback, I think college is a cool point to where you can't put a cap on how good a guy can be. And so I think when the ball comes out of Marcel's hands, great. He spins the football, and I think he can be an accurate passer. And I think the more he knows the offense, the more comfortable he is, he will become an even more accurate passer than what he already is. But on top of that, the mobility piece is so huge because there's guys out here like Elko who are going to scheme you up. They're going to have great defensive game plans. You're not going to call perfect plays. And so the mobility piece, I think, is so huge for all of us, especially us in the NFL. And I think it's the same in college, to where half the time mobility piece is great, to where if we call a bad play or the defense calls a great play, you can keep us out of being 2nd and 20 and you just get us to 2nd and 10, right? So it starts with just being able to minimize the catastrophic plays to keep you on schedule. And then the ability comes into where now it goes from a bad play to you make a good play to where just get us a positive play. And then the special talent comes into where, okay, they have us dead to rights. You make a couple guys miss. You extend a play, and now you have a scramble play for an explosive, a lot of what Johnny did, and that's when you get to special. So we're looking for accuracy and mobility, but the mobility piece just allows you, with how good these defenses are getting, to not have to be perfect as a play caller.
I want to ask one last thing about the A&M offense, if you don't mind, and just knowing that offensive line is going to be such a one of the top in the entire country, right? And then you throw in the backfield of Le'Veon and Ruben and Amari. Just what does that do for the quarterback spot?
It's huge. I think when you have a veteran offensive line group or a talented offensive line group, what it allows you to do is be better in situational football. That's one thing. Now, we have less possession than the NFL, so we really have to think in the game, and situational football is always on our mind. There's more plays in college. With that being said, if your line is better, it should be more positive plays in the 1st and 2nd down. It should now get the quarterback in more 3rd and manageables, so now you can keep a run or pass option, which should allow you to be more efficient. So if your line is really, really good, you should have less negative plays. You should be on schedule more, and that's just going to help a young quarterback thrive.
Jerrod, do you have a moment at A&M that is your most special moment? And maybe it's football, maybe it's not, just that you think of like, yeah, that kind of encapsulates my time at A&M.
We went down to Texas Tech We went down to Texas Tech my junior year, and I think we had a tough loss. And Texas Tech had a big win against, I forgot who they beat, but we went out there and rolled them pretty good. And just in the locker room with the guys, that's a moment I'll never forget. And then, of course, my senior day, just knowing everything that went into me going to A&M, my dad passing away while I was at A&M, and my mom being on the field, and I believe, I can't remember, I think she brought a jersey, my dad's jersey out there with me. And so this place has so many special meanings to me. And I just think, every time I drive by Kyle Field, I'm just thankful that I got an opportunity to play there. And, it always have a special place in my heart.
Jerrod, we're really proud of you, man. We know you're going to be an NFL head coach one day, and we just think great things about you. Thank you so much for making a few minutes for us.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Jerrod Johnson here on TexAgs Live on the Buffy's Catering Hotline. Appreciate his time. With a break, we'll have a short segment on the other side. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. If you're a business owner and you're ready to take your operation to the next level and you need to add to your fleet, you got to check out Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They've expanded their selection of commercial vehicles to meet your every need. They've got the muscle for your business demands. They've got the pricing that you're going to love. And they are now a newly designated business elite dealer, which means they understand what it takes to keep your company moving forward. Every commercial vehicle comes with their legendary, free oil change for life, because they believe in supporting local business. Remember, it's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. ESPN announcing that Shane Gillis is going to host the 2025 ESPY Awards. I'm a big Shane Gillis guy. Do you even know who Shane Gillis is?
Do not.
Yeah, he's a big-time comedian. In fact, he's been in this studio. He was here for the yeah, that's right, Jess. The Notre Dame game. He came in and popped in during the show. It was great. So he's going to be the host. And I sometimes wonder with these hosts that do these events, like if it's a good fit for them. If you remember, Tony Hinchcliffe opened up for President Trump at one of his rallies, and it just wasn't the right audience for him. Sometimes, like what's his name? Joe Coy. I have it written down. Joe Coy. He did the Golden Globes, and it was a disaster. And that guy's a hilarious comedian, but it just wasn't the right fit, and it didn't. I hope that Shane's humor works in that environment because I think Shane is phenomenal. The tire show he does on Netflix is great. His stand-up is fantastic. His podcast is great. So I haven't watched the ESPYs in years, but I think I might watch this one because I think he's that good. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Miss Ava Davis, what do you have?
TexAgs Live posted a graphic on their Twitter. So if you don't follow them, go follow them because they have good stuff. Their graphic they posted this morning was A&M standout freshman seasons. So we have Johnny Manziel, 2012, obviously, and then we have Myles Garrett for the 2014 season.
Yeah.
Chris Kirk, 2015.
Christian Kirk, 2015.
Yes. Torin York, 2023. Eric McCoy in 2016.
He was freshman All-SEC. Torin York, freshman All-American. Christian Kirk had, oh my goodness, 80 receptions, 1,000 yards. Wow. Myles Garrett, he had, 11 and a half sacks. I can just envision what those numbers could look like this year. And obviously the Johnny Manziel story, which was a Heisman Trophy winning season and a beatdown of Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. What a fun season that was. All right. Let's do this. Hour number 3 coming up. We'll do Recruiting Country with Brauninger. We've had a lot of recruiting news over the last, 3 weeks. And hopefully we'll have a little bit more. And then cousin Shane from that SEC podcast will join us at 10:35. We'll get to more of your text messages at 979-693-1150. You are listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And we're back. It is TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studios. Now time for Recruiting Country, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. Ryan Brauninger in studio.
Good morning.
What's up, buddy? Thanks for hosting a couple of days.
Well, thank you for letting me host for a couple of days.
Yeah. The B team gets a lot of love.
Does it?
They get a lot of love, yeah.
We like to have fun. Whenever you come back, you put the guardrails back up on the show and like focus it, get it right back on. But whenever you're gone, it's definitely substitute teachers wheeling in, the TV on the rolling stand, and nobody's going to pay attention.
No, they were paying attention. You guys did a good job.
The craziest thing, and I've said this a lot of times, I actually said it when I was hosting. When you sit in that chair, first of all, it's a lot harder to sit in your chair than it is in this chair. But when you're sitting in that chair and you have Olin Buchanan sitting next to you and you say something that could be vaguely
inappropriate?
Not inappropriate, but in his toxic brain, it can be taken and through the different levels of his toxicity in his brain can be produced into something vulgar or, you can see it happening.
You see his eyes.
Oh, yes.
There's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, and then he can't help but smile because he's already making himself laugh.
It's like a treat for a puppy, right? Here we go.
Yes. It's like you say your puppy's buzzwords. Like for Dolly, my dog, if we say cheese, she
knows.
Oh, yeah. So we could be just talking about we need cheese from the store, but if she hears cheese, she's like, I love cheese.
Yeah.
And that's what Olin says, like, I love vaguely inappropriate things that I can turn into, potential.
The best part of my role is I know that that's going to happen.
It throws me off track.
But I act like I don't know what's happening. But it's
you got more seasoning with it.
So it's been a good month.
Yeah, it's been a really good month for A&M recruiting. It's been a fantastic month, and we got a couple of offensive line decisions going down today, and I think that's where most of our attention will be.
Okay.
Is on offensive line. You talk about Avery Morcho out of Fort Bend Ridge Point makes a decision at 1:00 today. Later tonight, Aaron Thomas out of Phoenix, Arizona, Mountain Point High School. He makes a decision. And then, the buzz this morning is A&M standing with Zayden Crimpin out of Prosper. So all three offensive linemen, all three considered, high priority targets for Adam Cushing in the coaching staff. Crimpin does not have a date set, time set kind of thing, but it feels like that one's coming toward the end, especially there'll be a lot of them probably happening across the country, a lot of commitments happening across the country between now and late July because official visits are over with and there's that extended dead period now. So everybody's gone on their summer officials. They're trying to lock up spots in a class before their high school season start. So as busy as June has been, I think July, especially early July, could be as busy for A&M.
As busy as what it's been, yeah.
It's going to be close. When you look at some of the upcoming impending decisions, we mentioned those three offensive linemen. You look at DeQuivis Beck, you look at Tamarian Watkins, you look at Tank King. We'll talk about linebacker in a little bit. What does A&M do in the secondaries or another secondary spot? I think they need another safety. If not a nickel safety, but definitely another safety to pair with Chance Collins. Wide receiver is full, but they're still after some top guys in Boobie Feaster and Tristan Keys. And so there's still some intrigue left before the season. And look, for me personally, and we need to get into the latest with all those offensive linemen, but for me personally, I like keeping a couple of spots in my high school class open going into
the
season because you have these kind of fast rising seniors that maybe they've compiled an offer list that's got some non P4s or some lower level P4s, and all of a sudden as seniors they really pop on tape,
right?
Like a Nelson McGuire did last year, and you end up with him in the class. So I would hope that A&M is, I like that they're going to do that because to me that means they're going to continue to scour the state of Texas for talent and kind of see who emerges as seniors. And I think that it's going that direction in a couple of those positions. Like, hey, we really don't want to just stretch on somebody late in the summer when we can wait until August, mid-September, watch a couple of weeks of tape and go, okay, like this kid has made significant jumps. Or maybe this kid that we liked, that we were kind of iffy on, isn't going the right direction. So I think it just, when you have a few spots left over, you can get a much cleaner eval, with that added, month and a half of tape.
Remind me, I feel like since I've been here, because even the 22 class, like it started getting full or full-ish in July, right?
Yeah, this is the most, in terms of traffic, this is where we see the most substantial amount is in the summer and off those official visits. Now, I don't think that they're going to be doing a pool party this summer, which was obviously one of the bigger dates. I just think that the recruiting calendar has been switched to where you won't get that like you normally would. So it'll be interesting to kind of monitor that late July, early August period to see if, when A&M comes up with another recruiting event, what can they do, what can't they do. So we'll monitor that. But this is, summertime is, and especially if you look at the history of Mike Elko going back to Duke as a head coach, like he does a lot of his work. Most of his classes are committed before football season starts.
And then tell me how this sounds, and I may be way off, but it feels like this group here is, and again, I'm just, from what I've read from your interviews, seen in your interviews, and talked to some of these guys, I feel like this group doesn't feel as connected to the results as maybe others. I'm not saying the results don't matter, please don't, but I feel like this is I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, is it always a we'll see, right?
Yeah, I felt like last year's group wasn't for sure. And we talked a lot about how they feel like they hit on talent and human being in that class. And there are the negative recruiting pitches if A&M doesn't win enough games this year are going to get real loud.
Sure.
And so then you worry about that. All that takes is the door to crack open for one of these top guys and create some doubt. That's all the competitors are looking for, is to just create a little window of opportunity for them to dive right in and their pitch starts hitting home a little bit more. And so if they don't win games this fall, then that door opens to those negative recruiting pitches even wider. And look, this isn't news to anybody sitting across the street. It's not. Like, one thing I can say about this coaching and recruiting staff is they're very self-aware. Like, they're not burying their head in the sand with the problems that they're facing on the recruiting front or on the playing field. Like, that's not lost on them. There are certain coaches and staffs that we have covered, I have covered at TexAgs, that they would bury their head. Like, they were just, I don't know if it's like willfully ignorant or just didn't want to hear it or stubborn enough to where they thought they could, outmaneuver these negative recruiting pitches. Whatever it was, it definitely happened. But this staff is there's a clear understanding of what they are facing. And so if they don't win games, they're going to be very aware that is going to be used against them at every opportunity on the recruiting front.
Yeah. So let's go through those offensive linemen that we'll have. What is it? 2 today potentially that are
2 today are making announcements, and so we'll start with Avery Morcho out of Fort Bend Ridge Point. 1:00 today. Have felt good about A&M with Morcho since they offered. That is. I'd have to go back and look and do some research, but it feels like Missouri City might be the most fruitful recruiting ground for Texas A&M over the last decade.
Yeah.
Any town in Texas, right? Like, and you classify that under Houston area. I'm sure there are some in Dallas area that have been, just as prosperous for Texas A&M. But off the top of my head, there's been so many Missouri City kids come to Texas A&M, Sugar Land, Missouri City, Fort Bend ISD, right? And I think A&M has got a great reputation in that area of the state. And from it's really weird. Like, from some of these kids, you just get A&M vibes from them very early. And I got that from Morcho. And I don't think that's changed, especially as A&M was kind of there were guys jockeying up and down their big board on the offensive line. And as Avery Morcho became a clear target and a clear priority for Adam Cushing, that only, like, the A&M sentiment only was furthered because of that. Like, I think, okay, like, now A&M's going to make a big push for this kid. I think he always had an affinity for College Station and for Texas A&M. And so that one's going in the right direction. I haven't heard anything that would make me think otherwise. And one thing about, like, those Missouri City kids, like, they have pretty high hit rates too. Even if they don't go to A&M, like, they go and they end up being quality college players. And then obviously the high end of them are playing in the NFL. But that's a program too in Ridge Point. Coach LeFavors, big fan of his. They typically churn out, almost double-digit Division I players each year. They're going to have probably the best offensive line in the state, anchored by Morcho this coming fall. there's a lot of people in Greater Houston that think if there is going to be a team that can finally break through the North Shore Atascocita line,
it's going to be them.
It could be Ridge Point this year.
That's interesting. The other one today, Aaron Thomas.
Yeah, that one's been interesting because there was a lot of momentum when he was on campus that he was going to shut it down and like he had an announcement date, but he was going to go ahead and tell the A&M coaches that he was coming to be an Aggie. That didn't happen. I felt good about where A&M was on Monday. This morning, a lot of the momentum has been with Ohio State. So if A&M is still making maneuvers there, maybe they could overcome that. But I feel like the momentum there is with the Buckeyes.
Okay.
And he was open to going anywhere nationally. And I think as his recruitment started to dwindle down, Florida State was in there. But I think it came down to A&M and Ohio State. I would lean toward Ryan Day getting this one tonight. Although I'm probably 55-60% there. Something could happen. It's enough. It's not a big enough of a gap where something couldn't happen during the day, and A&M go, okay, we got him now. So I think heading into tonight, though, I'd lean Ohio State.
And then there's other offensive linemen that they're still in.
Well, Zayden Crimpin, yeah, for sure, and he has always been a high priority guy at a Prosper. The thing with like Morcho, Crimpin, Thomas is if you evaluate each of them, they all check a lot of boxes as tackles. But if you got all of them, inevitably one was going to slide inside, probably to guard, just the way it goes. But and like with Morcho, he's almost 6'7". He's 280 pounds, which is up from like 265 a year ago. So like when you think about him as a prospect, and Jason and I have discussed this, it's almost Demetrius Crownover-like. Now, Demetrius Crownover was playing tight end at Grandview, a smaller school, where Morcho's been an offensive lineman his entire career at Ridge Point. But when you look at Morcho, you're going, man, what does that look like? If he's still growing up and now he's starting to grow out, what does that look like in 18 months from now?
Yeah.
And you just look at it. Can you call a guy that's 6 foot, almost 6'7", 280 pounds, can you call him gangly? Because that's what Morcho, I would describe him as gangly, and that's good for an offensive lineman that young, right? Super, like high-waisted, long arms. He's got a lot of tackle traits. And Aaron Thomas is that big too. He's 6'7", but he's a little bit bigger already. Crimpin is the best technician, like the furthest along in his technique of all those three. And to me, he looks like an offensive lineman. He's got a great mullet, great look to him. Like it looks like a nasty SEC offensive lineman. I could see him playing anywhere, but he's got the technical ability and the technical efficiency right now to stick at tackle, but I could see him sliding, from center to tackle anywhere.
All right, let's move to linebacker. And the July 4th is a big day for linebackers, right?
Well, July 1st is DeQuivis Beck.
Okay.
July 4th is Tank King. Tamarian Watkins, it's all running together for me too. Unless I've missed something, I don't think Tamarian Watkins has a
date yet?
Announced date yet. But It feels like, again, that's another one. Like Crimpin, it feels like it's getting close to the finish line. Could A&M end up with like 4 traditional stand-up linebackers in this class? Yeah. I mean, you look at it, they've got Storm Miller committed. I don't think they're going to go anywhere on DeQuivis Beck or Tank King. And then Tamarian Watkins. The difference is Tamarian Watkins is like a spin-down linebacker. So he's coming from where he was recruited early in his high school career at safety, and some schools are still recruiting him there. He's gotten so much bigger and longer that people are trying to put him closer to the ball, and A&M's one of those. So there's a difference there. Like he would be – it's almost like a nickel linebacker.
Sure.
Like somebody that can cover these athletic tight ends and maybe slide out in space. It's a Scooby Williams profile.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a big, long kid. And DeQuivis Beck and Tank King are more your traditional, off-the-ball linebackers in that Torian York role. Feel great about where A&M is with Tank King. I think it's coming down to A&M and Oklahoma for DeQuivis Beck. Tamarian Watkins, I think it's gotten a little bit more crowded lately. Like, for a good couple of weeks there in early June, it felt like it was A&M was on a one-way track, and now it's gotten a little bit more crowded. But I do tend to lean A&M there. I know less about it. Obviously, he's from South Carolina, so don't have as much of a pulse with the sources around him as we do with Tank and DeQuivis. Yeah. You could be looking at a really full linebacker room, but all very different. So and even some of them, like if you look on our website, like Tristan Givens is listed as either a defensive end or a linebacker. Samu Moala is listed as a linebacker. Those are edge players. So you don't even count them we don't even count them toward that linebacking class, even though, I think one thing we would like to do in our recruiting database is add that edge position, because that's what Tristan Givens and Samu Moala are both, that's where they fit. And King, Beck, Miller, Watkins would all be that traditional off-the-ball linebacker.
It feels like linebacker has been a priority these last 2 years.
Yeah, and look, you have to start looking at, I think a lot of folks we're getting close to the season, and a lot of the focus has turned to this roster. But if you are Derek Miller, the general manager, and his staff, you have to look beyond just what's going to happen in the fall. And, that's where you start making decisions on, all right, how many of these spots do we leave open for transfer offensive linemen?
Right.
We're about to have a mass exodus up front. We're about to have some guys move on at linebacker. If Torian York has a good year, he could be 3 and gone, and then obviously Scooby Williams will leave too. What do you have behind that? We feel good about some of those depth pieces, but how good? If we can ensure that with a lot of young guys, then we need to do that. And so I think you're going to start seeing some of that. You have, like I said, if you are in those roles where you're managing the roster, you have to be looking ahead to 2026 and 2027 and what the roster looks like. And so you may be making concessions on what you're able to add in the high school class and holding some areas for the portal.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. Let's close out some recruiting country and also maybe a baseball question or two. If your wheels have been damaged by the potholes in town, the curbs, the medians, you need to check out the experts there at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. They've been in this market for over 2 decades, and they bring an excellent experience. They want to make sure that your wheel is returned to perfectly safe working condition, where they road force balance all their wheels to make sure you get that smoothest, most safest possible ride. They repair everything. So you've got a little minor curb rash, you got some polishing, you need maybe you have a bent or cracked rim. We'll take care of it. And don't let anyone tell you that it has to be replaced. You can have it repaired and not spend the same kind of money. Spend significantly less. You want a fresh look, they got you there as well. They got experts that can find you the exact look when it comes to cosmetic repairs or whatever you're looking for. They'll take care of you there. And they can help you find your tires as well. If you bring in a tire quote that they can't beat, they'll give you $20 on the spot. That's one of the beauties of going there to Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. What you need to do is check out the website, bvwheelrepair.com, bvwheelrepair.com, or in person, 508 Burnett Street in Bryan. That is 508 Burnett Street in Bryan. It is Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Recruiting Country, brought to you by America Momentum Bank. Bronny, one of the talking points you sent me, I thought was an interesting question. What are the goals in recruiting? Best player or best fit? And I think there isn't one answer that fits all, right? Because
just
you
like
think you can make somebody a fit, right?
Just like with everything, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. You know, a lot of people will go, well, you need to go get the best player. Well, the best player according to who?
Right.
You know, there are plenty of misses each and every cycle by us as TexAgs, by national media that cover recruiting. Plenty of them. So, like, I just, there's something that I've always had a struggle with in my brain is like people assigning numbers to something that's not quantitative.
Right.
Like, and I get it. That's kind of the age of analytics now, and like, especially when you're trying to build these recruiting algorithms, it spits out a number. But again, you're spitting out a number of something that's not quantitative, you know? So, and not just the recruiting departments, but that's how a lot of people, you know, this kid's a 93 overall. What does that even mean?
Right.
You know, like, is it
based on what?
Right. Like, and so there's, you know, kind of some inherent blind spots to this stuff. So I think best player as evaluated by the head coach and the recruiting staff. I think that they have to trust what their eyeballs see, what they know to be true currently with how players perform or how players, the projectability of players in high school to college to the NFL.
Sure.
There are certain measurable things that most players have, right? Like most players, most cornerbacks that go to the NFL run sub 4.6 40. If you're recruiting a guy that is a 4.6, 4.7, 4.8 runner, is he going to go to the NFL? Well, maybe there is that small window of guys that can make it happen, but you don't want to be signing a bunch of those guys. And so what I was asking is like, what is important in recruiting? Best player or best fit? And, you know, I think you obviously want to send players to the NFL, and A&M has got to get more players like invited to the combine than they did last year. When you look at the comparison of the number of invitees from A&M and their peers, Auburn, South Carolina, two teams you lost to, had way more or had more NFL combine invitees than you did. That number has to go up. But in the end, their job is to win college football games. And is there a difference? I would say that there's probably not much of a difference on the most guys that are going to get invited to NFL type of things,
right?
And winning college football games. Like, I think there's some crossover. And you look at Georgia and Texas and those kind of programs, Alabama over the years, that would tell you that raw talent is still the be-all, end-all. But within that, how do you factor in fit? And especially nowadays when there's a lot more motivation other than wearing the school across your chest and going and playing on Saturdays. You know what I'm saying? Like,
see, I think the answer, it's, again, you can't fit all, right? But it's fit. To me, it's fit because when you're at A&M or a SEC school outside of Vandy, you're going to recruit at a high level. Okay?
You have to.
Right? Yeah. Or you're not going to have a job. So let's just say, maybe not all things are different, but you are a top 15 recruiting type of program. It's got to be about fit. People who value the same thing you value, that understand the coach's dialogue, wants to get down with it the same way. Like, it does not rattle what you are trying to accomplish.
Well, where is the difference then between, you know, a coach finding fit and being a good evaluator? Because to me, that difference is found in player number 4 through 14 in your class.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 4 all the way to the bottom, whatever. Like the top 3, 4 players in each SEC recruiting class are going to be really good recruit. Like everybody could watch that and say, yeah, really good player. But where I think you make your hay is your ability to evaluate talent and fit over the bottom 75% of your class.
Sure.
And that, you know, again, that's where my brain has trouble. Like, what's the difference in class number 3 to class number 6? Is it that big of a difference? No, it's probably you hitting on a couple of those bottom tier guys.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, like, I don't lose much sleep over, you know, if you get the number 1 ranked class and you've got like the top players from 4 or 5 states, and it's clear that like you won some huge recruiting battles for the top end of your class, yes, that absolutely is a game changer, difference maker for your team on Saturdays. That means you are going to get game-winning type of talents where the play breaks down, but you have enough players that can go win you the game outside of traditional football.
Yep.
And you got to do that. You have to have that in this league. You have to have that now to win a playoff, no question. But in terms of building your overall roster, that's where I think, like, I don't lose sleep over if A&M's the number 4 class or the number 8 class, or even like 11 or 12. You start drawing a line somewhere.
All that is a talking point. It's not a reality.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just
for sure. And like, the age-old saying is a recruiting class should be judged on the back end, not the front end. And that's absolutely true.
But if you go back and look at classes that have been top 3, I would assume that more often than not, they've had more success than those 7 to 10.
Probably. And like, it's, again, we're not saying that it's imperfect and it needs to be completely overhauled in terms of the recruiting star system, all that kind of stuff. What I'm saying is I've always just had an issue, like, you see it all the time where, like, these guys develop at different rates. Everybody's on a different timeline. So, like, to me, I'm looking at this current A&M class and I'm looking at some of the guys that are perceived at the bottom. You look at, like, Chance Collins or Caden Johnson. Like, Caden Johnson, it would not surprise me one bit if he ends up being a huge factor at the next level.
Right.
Because of, like, the raw athletic traits. But A&M, they didn't receive a bunch of hoopla for winning that recruitment. They didn't receive a bunch of hoopla for winning the Torian York recruitment either.
Right.
You understand? So there's a couple of those in each class that I think you can make some, like, they can be real difference makers, not only in terms of your NFL athletic profile, your NFL projections, but also, more importantly, in you winning football games.
Before I let you go, baseball-wise, how are we feeling about things?
Yeah, they had a portal defection this morning. I say defection. I think it was a mutual parting of ways with Preston Prince, the left-hander from Rutgers. He's a kid that was like a kind of a flyer, like low risk, high reward. If they could get him to figure out how to throw it over the plate, which he had never done, and then you look at his numbers this summer, he'd already walked like 11 in 4 innings. So if you're averaging over 2 walks an inning, I just don't think that's going to, even if you could throw it as hard as you want to, it's just not going to play in this league. And so I think both sides decided that maybe the SEC wasn't the best spot for him to try to figure those control issues out. They're still awaiting decisions on Juan Vargas, right-handed pitcher from Tennessee Tech, who was an all-freshman team in the Ohio Valley Conference last year. They're looking at Carlos Vasquez as another one where they're sweating it out. He had a visit to Arkansas. He's a utility infielder that can really hit. Evan Blanco is still out there, left-handed pitcher from Virginia, which if you're able to get him, that is another one that you could potentially see slide into one of those weekend spots. So they're in the thick of it with some big-time guys. There's one commitment that is yet to be announced. We'll see when that goes public. And then there's still guys going in, man. Like Braden Dowd went in from USC last night, and I think A&M's going to have a chance to get him on campus for a visit. But I also fully believe that one's going to get really crowded. Mm-hmm. And there's more rumors of some big-time players in positions where I think A&M would be looking, some big-time names potentially going into the portal. So we'll see if those come to fruition. We've heard and seen this so many times on the football circuit, right? Like, hey, this kid's going in. Well, he's really not going in until he's in. Like, you can hear the rumors all you want to about it. So still tracking all that, and I think they've been solid. In the portal so far, they've been really solid. If they can land a few of these top targets, you'd give it from probably a B+ to an A.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if you want to be at a B, like it could go from B to A with the right guys, them getting over the line.
Thank you, Brauninger.
Yep.
All right, right now, a moment for the Association of Former Students. If you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggie Land, or you are already living in Aggie Land and need a new opportunity, a new job, you should reach out to the Association of Former Students because they look to hire Aggies all the time. And they have positions from time to time open in fundraising, marketing, communication, sales, you name it. And they are the premier alumni association and the oldest organization supporting A&M. And they play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to Here. Don't miss opportunities to help out with Aggie Ring Day, Howdy Socials, class reunions, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. If you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. In a few weeks, we'll be in Atlanta for SEC Media Days, and our next guest will be all over the place. We'll chit-chat. We'll talk life, fitness, college football, you name it. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Cousin Shane with us. What's up, brother?
Hey, man, what's going on?
How you been, man?
Been good. I've been trying to cut some lbs before I see you again. You know, I'm down 72 pounds since January 1st. Doing a lot of golfing. I didn't think I'd enjoy it, and then I got addicted to it. And you know me, I don't like gyms. I don't like walking. But something about the golf course has just called to me, man.
That's great, man. Are you actually good?
No, I'm bad. That's probably why I'm losing so much weight chasing these dang balls around, you know?
Hey, man, so I wanted to start things off with A&M because I watched a clip of you recently, and I thought it was actually an optimistic point of view because I've heard you before, and I think you had A&M maybe 9-3-ish. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think you had us at 9-3.
That's correct.
And just missing out on the playoffs, but you feel like they're close. So I wanted to give you the platform to kind of just discuss why you think they're close and how close they actually are and what you think for A&M this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think when you look at year one, we got overexcited. I know I did. I said, wait a minute, Texas A&M is already back, and that's what it felt like. I mean, we're in the final month of the year, and we're potentially going to an SEC championship. Then I feel like the depth kind of reared its ugly head. And that's something that was addressed in the offseason. Couple of things I do love about the Aggies going into this season is that offensive line, the running game. Year two, there's just something about that sophomore season with a coordinator and a head coach where he can kind of release the reins a little bit. I love the fact that Elko is going to be a little bit more involved with the defense here. But for me, it's a gut check. I love the schedule. I feel like if you own home, you'll be fine. And if you do that, then you're going to be one of those teams that we're talking about late November about potentially making a playoff run here.
Yeah, by the way, I agree with you. Last season, we're talking about, and this happens to a lot of teams, but we're talking about a player or two, an injury away from being a playoff team. So and also with so much uncertainty at quarterback last season, for them to do as well as they did, I think it's actually a credit to that coaching staff because I love Marcel Reed, I do, but the expectation was that was Connor Wigman's team last year, and that didn't turn out to be the case.
Yeah, it's just you go into that season and for me, I think about all the valuable reps we lost in the offseason. Like right now, this is the time where Reed's making his biggest gains. You know, I hope him and Terry and Concepcion I hope they're like 3 peas in a pod, you know, going around everywhere. They need to be as a unit when they hit the football field. And I worry about some of these quarterback controversies. We've seen a lot with the SEC teams, and I feel like it hurts some of these younger quarterbacks. Now we don't have that now. This is Reed's team, and I think he is the ultimate X factor on how far Aggies are going to go. But you know, it's nice knowing that those valuable reps aren't being squandered now.
If I were to tell you the offense does what the offense did last year without injuries, okay?
Yeah.
All right, not major injuries, okay? You don't lose your best offensive player, okay? Like lay down. But I say the defense takes 2 steps forward. What does that do to your 9-3? Is that still the 9-3? Is that what you're expecting? Or does now you're like, okay, now we're 10-2.
Well, let's be 100% transparent. I've been on the Aggie bandwagon several times, and it's blew up in my face. and I feel like on our show, a lot of Aggie fans are hoping I don't get too excited because they think I carry some curse along with me. But this is a team that I'm getting more and more pumped about. The more we go, the longer we talk to Ag fans, Ag media personalities. It's just I learn something new every time I have that conversation. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. If the defense takes a step forward, because the country watched the last 4 games that Texas A&M played, and they saw a lot of 40-point games. That's not Elko defense. So taking those 2 steps, then all of a sudden South Carolina's probably a win. You know what I'm saying? It should have been. I felt like they were the more talented team, but there was a lot of mistakes, a lot of injuries that came up on that one. And then you factor the Auburn travesty. That's what it was.
Yep.
I feel like, you do that, then all of a sudden you are a playoff team. So, I feel like we're closer than most 2-year coaches would be down there in College Station. And that's the reason you should be excited, because let's face it, when you do make playoff runs and when you do win national championships, you can look at every championship team and there's a little lady luck. That's one thing that you can't factor in. You got to have some good luck on your side. And unfortunately, A&M didn't have that last year.
You're like me, I think, that you're not sold on Florida. Why are you not sold on Florida?
Man, I fight it every day. That's all Mike wants to talk about. In fact, today on that SEC podcast, we're doing a Florida preview. So I'm thinking about calling it sick. Here's the deal. I don't understand it. I don't understand the love for the Florida Gators right now. And I guess we live in this bubble. And it kind of what we did with A&M. We just said A&M's not good because of the last month. Well, now we're saying Florida's good because of their last month, because they played a battered LSU team, because they played let's just face it, they got beat by Ole Miss. Ole Miss should have won that game. I still blows my mind. Out of all the games, Ole Miss loses to Kentucky and Florida. I still don't understand that. So we gained this momentum. We play the worst Florida State team that's ever fielded, and then a Tulane team that's not 3-week in Tulane team. This is a team that's kind of decimated and opt out. So we put all this stock into DJ Lagway that he's here. This is back. They're growing. This is the year for Billy Napier. And I'm like, what? Off a little good streak off some bad teams at the tail end of your schedule? The schedule is tougher this year for the Florida Gators. Prime example, they're coming to your house, even though you beat them. You went over there and beat them last year. I'm expecting a blowout this season. So yeah, Florida takes I don't want to say a big step. I want to put a little asterisk by this. You give the Florida Gators, I do think the Florida Gators are a better team in 25, but unfortunately they don't have a Tennessee schedule. They don't have a Mizzou schedule. If they did, then all of a sudden, we're going to give Billy Napier another 5 years.
All right, Mizzou, that easy-ish schedule, but you're not high on them.
Not as high as I have been, and there are a couple things to keep in tech here. Schedule. There's Tennessee and Mizzou have the best schedules. I really love Mizzou's because of their home field. Most of their toughest games, those coin toss games, are going to be at Columbia, which I think is really important. Drink has came out here and said that this is the best football team he's fielded. Every time I put anything negative about Mizzou out there, I get 3 guys telling me how deep this roster is. So there's a part of me says you can't sleep on what Drink has been doing up there in Columbia, but you're kind of hinging it on a quarterback we've not seen, a backup quarterback that's come in. Yes, he's athletic, but does he do better? I feel like this is going to be more of a ground pound team. They're going to kind of get back to that. And for this to really work, Mizzou's defense has got to be the side that really steps up and kind of erases some of those mistakes that Prabula is going to probably have early in the year.
Talking to Cousin Shane here on TexAgs Live. All right, Cousin Shane, let's look at the expected top tier of the SEC. Georgia, I don't know if they're the same Georgia. I don't know with Gunnar Stockton. And Texas, expected. They lost their offensive line. They got Arch, who's supposed to be the second coming of Tim Tebow. But there's questions at both of those teams. Do you see them potentially both taking a step back?
Well, I do think Texas is one you got to watch taking a little bit back, because we're putting a lot of stock in Arch Manning. I don't know if you caught Steve Spurrier's comments the other day, but he says, hey, if he were that good, he would have been starting over the 5th round quarterback that was selected in the draft. So, take that for what it's worth. I do feel like there's a lot of optimism. Obviously, I'm sure you deal with it more than I do. Coming from Austin, they just reload, they don't replace. So, but to go playoffs 2 years in a row, I mean, you've already kind of set the bar. So naturally you think that there would be a little regression there. Now the Georgia Bulldogs, on the other hand, I think that we talked about Lady Luck. I mean, when you lose your quarterback at the end of the season, that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. I mean, it's not a left guard. It's not a defensive end. This is the heart and soul of your offense, which they had no running game at all last year. So I felt like Gunner was kind of thrown into the fire. Georgia Bulldogs, watch out for that team. You don't have them on your schedule, but if all goes well, you'll play them in the playoffs. This is a very, very good football team, and I feel a little bit of a revenge tour going on here. So it's just leadership. Kirby's talked about it several times. He needs some guys to step up, and if that happens, be careful about them Georgia Bulldogs this season.
With so many first-year starters in the SEC at quarterback, is there one that you're like, dude, I just don't see it? Is it Ty Simpson? Is it Mateer? Is it who is it going to be that is getting a fresh start that you're like, I just don't know?
Well, a little closer to home. Aguilar is the one I'm worried about the most. Tennessee, it is Josh Heupel's system. It is, it is proven to work. But Aguilar comes in not highly touted, kind of a gunslinger himself. You mentioned Mateer, kind of like that, very athletic. Could the ceiling, I feel like, got lowered when Nico left. But that's the one I worry about the most, because mainly the first three games, you've got Syracuse, which is a tough football team, a tougher football team. And then week 3, you got Georgia Bulldogs coming in. So, they don't have the luxury of playing 4 or 5, cakewalk games and getting going. There's a chance Tennessee could start out 1-2 and boy, you talk about the wheels falling off. So that's probably my biggest concern for New York first year quarterbacks. Prabulo, we mentioned him up in Mizzou there. Those two are probably anybody in Kentucky, you know what I'm saying? So any of those, that's probably my list right there, the 3 worrisome quarterbacks.
Cousin Shane, I'm going to be seeing you real soon, man. Appreciate your time. Let's talk again, all right?
Absolutely. Look forward to it, brother.
Later, brother. Take care.
See you, man.
Shane. See you, man. Here on TexAgs. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Around the SEC before we hit the end of the program. It is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. The timing today with Chris has been phenomenal. TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It's time for Around the SEC, brought to you by the Jackster Group. My Around the SEC is going to be simple. I'm going to read a question, and this came, where'd it go? Glenn on the YouTube page. Dr. Glenn says, how is the defense going to take 2 steps forward? And I think that's in when I made the comment to cousin Shane that if I can tell you that the defense takes 2, I wasn't predicting they're going to take 2 steps forward. I think they're going to take a step forward. But you want to know how they take 2 steps forward? Where would I come with that? Well, first off, I don't think they can be worse. I think that defense was really bad last year. At times, I know that they had their moments, absolutely. And in the beginning of the year, it was hard to run on that defense. By the end of it, it was a lot more successful running on the defense, just ask Texas. They couldn't get to the quarterback at the end of the year. So I'm more talking about the slip and slide that we saw towards the end of the year. But all year tackling was an issue, and apparently it wasn't just an issue for A&M. It was a issue throughout college football, especially in the SEC. But personnel, I think you've upgraded your defensive backs. Okay, you got Will Lee coming back, who is a lockdown guy, but you've upgraded and you've got more experience there. Okay, upgrade, more experience. You have a head coach who's putting his imprint on that defense, who's going to make sure that they cover better. He said it was his mission, and I believe it to be the case. So there's 2 layers to it. I think the linebackers were solid last year. You're going to be healthy to start the year, so let's go healthy linebacker group, okay? I think Scooby being healthy, and when Scooby got hurt, it really made he got hurt early, and then got more hurt towards the end. I think it made a big difference. So you got those portions of it. Defensive line, I hear you. Like, they weren't very good at getting to the quarterback at the end of the year. They weren't very good as a group getting to the quarterback really all season long. There were a couple games, but all year long. So if you don't want to think they'll be better there, I'll hear it out, and I'm going to be optimistic, because while they may not have the talent per se, they might have the talent. I mean, Marco Jones, I'm not going to overreact to the spring game, but some of the reports we've gotten back, the guy looked really, really good. And in time, maybe by the end of the year, he's entrenched as an everyday player. So if you're asking me how that would happen, you got your coach who's going to put his imprint on the defense that he didn't do enough last year, and he recognized it. He's going to make some changes. You've added to your personnel. You've got another year under the system. That's the reason for why. Now, is that a compelling case? That's for you to decide. Offensively, I think they were pretty solid last year until even when Le'Veon got hurt. You got Le'Veon back, you got Ruben back, you've got an offensive line that's gelled. So those are my reasons for it. I don't know if the defense is going to be top 5, 6 in the SEC. I know that's certainly the aspiration, but I think they'll certainly be better. All right, let's get a quick thought in from Ava Davis at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
Sports College Football 26 posted their top 25 toughest places to play. At number 1, they have LSU, Tiger Stadium, which we are going to play there this year. So that's going to be something we got to think about. But Kyle Field is ranked at number 11.
I think it's
number
said.
11. Texas is ranked at number 13, and Notre Dame is ranked at 21.
Okay. It's just so many ranks. I still think Kyle Field is one of the toughest places to play. You can respond by, they lost some games there. Just give it time. Give it time and healthy quarterbacks, healthy running backs. All right, guys, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live. We'll see you mañana.